Hi guys, I'm Dan Speak. I'm the graduate director here in the philosophy department. Hey Thomas, how you doing?
Hi, how are you? Good to see you.
Good to see you too. Bummed we didn't get to, connect. Yeah,
Yeah, no worries about that.
yeah. And I think Angelica's with us, but just listening in. Um,
Hi. Sorry.
oh, no problem. Okay, I wasn't calling you out, Angelica. I was just making sure we weren't missing you if you wanted to. Yeah. Um, so do you mind if I just see who you guys are? Okay. So I'll just remind you. So I'm Dan. I'm the graduate director in the philosophy department. Stuff I work on, issues in philosophy of religion, topics in freedom of the will. And I teach regularly. I teach the pro seminar. So first, when you come in, you start as a cohort. I'll usually teach that first semester on some topic that I think will be of general interest to everybody coming in, because people come in with lots of different interests. So, in light of that, how about if I start with you, Angelica? What's your story? Where are you right now?
Hi. I'm a fourth year student at UC Davis. I'm an undergraduate,
Oh,
and I
nice.
just applied for the MA program. I'm just interested in seeing what the philosophy program is like here.
Yeah,
Yeah.
good.
Oh,
Uh,
I'm interested in metaphysics and metaethics and ethics. Sorry, I forgot to mention.
Love it. No, that's great. That's great. And that's a great place. UC Davis is a great place to be doing
Yeah.
those things. Who have you had who you've really liked?
I've had Professor David Glick
Yeah.
for philosophy of physical sciences, and I really enjoyed that class. I'm very interested in the intersection between like metaphysics of time and um, the philosophy of physics.
Love it.
And I've had Professor Sandoval,
Hmm.
Professor Alejandro Sandoval, and I really enjoyed his classes as well.
Nice. Okay.
Yeah,
Nice to meet you. I'll
nice
try
to
to
meet you
maybe
guys.
maybe I can make some connections to UC Davis. One of my closest friends in philosophy was a UC Davis undergrad,
Hmm.
and so he has a deep fondness. He's hoping right now that his daughter, who's just about to go to college, will choose UC Davis and maybe even study some philosophy there. But
That's cool.
yeah, yeah. And Thomas, what's your story?
I'm also a fourth year undergrad student at Gordon College in
Hmm.
North Shore, Boston. Um, I am also very interested in metaethics. That's what I'm writing my final thesis on.
Nice.
Um, and yeah,
And who you're writing your thesis with? Will I know this person? I'm trying to think if I.
um, well, I started Dr. James Taylor.
Yeah,
I studied with him,
yeah.
and that's where I started with it. I'm finishing it under Dr. Ian Louise Boyd.
Okay.
I don't know if you know him,
I don't
but
think I do. I don't think I do. Okay.
yeah.
But I know James, of course. Yeah.
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 I was in Croatia when I started writing it. So yeah,
Well, it makes
it
good
was real
sense.
cool.
Yeah. But it is
Yeah.
on meta ethics. It's not applied ethics, which they have a lot of focus there when you're in Croatia on the applied stuff.
Yeah. It's sort of shifting directions right now. It's on feminist care ethics actually,
Love
and the
it.
connections to pragmatism, which
Mm.
is kind of interesting because actually right when I was at Loyola Marymount last week,
Yeah,
they were doing a seminar on pragmatism that I sat in on. So it was
exactly.
like,
With
oh,
Brian
this is like
Trainer.
literally
Yeah.
exactly what
Right.
I'm studying. So yeah.
Yeah. Did you get any insights? Anything you could use for your thesis from Brian?
It definitely got me thinking. I
Yeah.
mean, it was pretty general, but it was cool. Like
Yeah.
just
Yeah,
think about it and
exactly.
talk about it.
Yeah. Well, fun to get to meet you guys. Main thing about this time that we have here is just that you guys feel like you've got an open door to me. You guys can send me notes. You can follow up with any questions you have. Know that my email is wide open. Thomas got to be on campus a little bit ago, Angelica. So we'd met face to face a little bit, but just briefly. Would have been nice to spend a little bit more time. Um, and I can give you like the rundown for the program just a little bit, but my guess is you probably know a bunch of things already. So I don't want to bore you with details that you already know, but I'd be happy to answer any questions. But I could also talk at you. I am, after all, a professor. So talking at you comes naturally, but I'll try not to do it unless you want me to.
I was just curious, what the MA track is like for Loyola Marymount.
Good. It's pretty flexible. It's 10 courses, so it is the degree is it's a coursework MA. We don't have a thesis. Um,
Mhm.
so it's 10 courses, 30 units. Typically, the way it runs is people take, and they're three unit courses. So typically the first year, this is typical, you don't have to do it this way, but typically in the first year, students take 3 seminars in their first semester, 3 seminars in their second semester, then 2 seminars in each of their both of the semesters of their second year. And part of the reason why that's an attractive way to go is a lot of students are thinking about PhD programs. And so in that second year, if while their course load is a little lighter and maybe they're doing some teaching for us, they can also be working on their writing sample so they can get that really polished up so that they can apply to PhD programs. So that's a reason to kind of build it that way so that you're a little more front loaded with seminars in your first year than in your second year. But
Mhm.
sometimes that varies because of schedules.
Mhm.
Um, the first semester, everybody takes the pro seminar. And then if folks want to teach for us, you don't have to teach for us, but if you want to teach, we have a critical thinking course that our students can teach but in order to do that, they have to take our seminar, which we call teaching philosophy. It's a philosophy seminar. It's basically like a philosophy of education course seminar. You have to take that course in your second semester. And then if you do well in that course, we will recommend you to do some of the teaching for us in your second year. Uh, the only other two requirements besides doing well in your courses is we do expect people to develop a what we think of as an intermediate competence in an academic language that's not English. So a lot of times during that second year, if I don't know, you got any other languages already, Angelica? Or do you
Yeah, I learned Chinese
Chinese? Yes.
in at UC Davis, so
Okay.
yeah.
And how is your Chinese?
I would say it's just beginner,
Just beginner.
honestly.
Okay.
So I've learned Spanish as well in high school, and that's around beginner to intermediate
Yeah.
too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, you might, because you can think about it from the standpoint of, in some respects, the motivation for having the language requirement really is to help people to develop philosophically in the way that learning a language and learning to read philosophy in another language kind of enriches us. So if you did think, I mean, just given your interests, it might not be that Chinese is especially interesting as an academic language, but we do
Nice.
do Chinese philosophy in our department. So
Hmm.
Robin Wong and Josh Mason both work on Chinese philosophy. Super interesting stuff. So some people do take their language exams in Chinese. But we also do Spanish because we've got a lot of people who are interested in Spanish, Latin American philosophy, and actual Spanish philosophy.
Yeah.
How about you, Thomas? You got any language background?
Yeah, I took 2 semesters of ancient Greek.
Greek. Okay.
Yeah.
Probably would want to do your test in Greek then. If
Uh,
you if you were going to come and do a language with us, it would make sense for
yeah.
it to be Greek.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Was it more Koine, not Attic, probably, right? It was biblical Greek or no?
It was, yeah, New Testament.
Yeah.
That was the focus of it.
I mean, you'd still, you'd have to up your game a little bit probably to uh to translate a little bit of Plato. Have you tried any Plato?
No, I'm very good at translating John, though.
Yeah. Well, it helps when you
I can
know
have a great
passages pretty well.
conversation
Yeah.
with you about the Son of Man.
Yeah,
So,
exactly. You've got all RK and N ho logos. You've got all that, right? Exactly.
yeah.
Yeah. Well, it would be, so just keeping in mind that in addition to the 30 units for the seminars, we do expect people to pass this language. We don't prep you we don't provide any classes for that other than support, like psychological support. You have to figure out how to get yourself ready to take a translation test by the end of your second year. But everybody's very encouraging about that. And then the last bit I wanted to emphasize is that everybody has to do an oral we call it an oral defense or an examination. So instead of a thesis, we do have our graduating students defend what they take to be their best paper. They've written a seminar paper. It's usually something that they're using for their writing sample if they're applying to PhD programs, and then we force them to tell us about that paper, defend it for about an hour with 3 faculty members, and then you're in the clear. So I don't know. How does that sound intimidating?
A little bit, but
Yeah.
yeah.
Well, you want it to be a little bit intimidating, right? I
Yeah.
mean, you're doing this good work. You're becoming a master. You kind of would like to be able to show off your mastery a little.
Right.
So that's the basic structure of it. Most folks aim for completing in 2 years. Some folks, things come up, life comes up, work comes up, opportunities come up, and sometimes people have to go a little bit slower than that and take an extra semester. But most people are able to finish in 2 years.
And so for that, language credit, so
Yeah.
you were saying like that's just kind of like your own personal study, essentially.
It is. So especially with Greek, we do have a classics department that's like immediately adjacent to us, and they love it when our graduate students want to sit in on translation courses. So you can informally talk with them, and we put you in contact with them, to get some extra translation work in. And if it's not, suppose it was Chinese or Spanish for you, Angelica, everybody in the department, there's somebody in the department who is good on those languages, and you can start a conversation with them. Hey, what book should I use? What resources should I use to get myself ready for it? They'll help you through that. It's just that you don't take a course for that.
Mm.
We schedule you for an exam. Like I'm starting to schedule the exams right now for the folks who are graduating in May. And the exam is about 20 lines of something in philosophy in that language. 20 lines, of Plato for Greek, maybe, or 20 lines of Aristotle, or 20 lines of something from Tao Te Ching in Chinese, or something, 20 lines of Miguel de Unamuno or something like that in Spanish. So, and you've got 4 hours and a dictionary. So you really have to have your grammar down, and you have to have translated some philosophy so that you have a feel for the way that philosophy is a little different from other things. But it's not like you have to know every bit of vocabulary, right? You'd be able to, if it's some weird, you don't know anything about. I don't know. It's funny when I think now back, Thomas, about my own Greek. It's like all these words for like weapons and marching and things, and then all of a sudden you get thrown into some context where you're talking about distinctive forms of plants or something, and you're like, I don't know any of these things. I only know well, philosophy things mostly. So, but that's not what you probably would have get, if you were taking Koine, or if you were taking the kind of Chinese that you're probably doing at UC Davis. There probably wasn't a lot of emphasis on the idioms that get associated with philosophy. So sometimes there's a little bit of like getting over a hump with those.
Yeah.
Now, maybe it's worth knowing, Angelica, part of the reason that Thomas is interested in our program is because the person who was teaching him, James, he and Petra were both, he and his wife were both MA students at LMU. So I guess James speaks highly of us, Thomas, or is he? You have to lie to me about that, probably, huh?
I guess you'd never know, but yeah, he
Yeah.
does speak very highly.
Yeah.
So
He's such a great. They're both such terrific people. Just feel very grateful that we get to be associated with them at all.
he's a great, yeah. I mean, I owe a lot of my passion for philosophy to him and taking his classes and learning under him and the books that he's recommended me. So
And was that all in Croatia? He hasn't been at Gordon
well,
really.
he's actually like he's a Gordon professor as well. So he
Yeah.
teaches a class at Gordon. And so I actually used to be a physics student, believe it or not. And I switched to philosophy after I got bored and decided I didn't want to be an engineer anymore. So I just arbitrarily, like, Gordon has different tracks for its major. One of its tracks for philosophy was like peace and conflict studies. So I was like,
Excellent.
that sounds cool.
Yeah.
And so you take a class with him at Gordon for that. And that's when
On
I got
campus, or does
introduced
he do it?
on campus. Yeah. It's like for a couple months or a couple weeks you do
I see.
online. And then he's in Boston for like 3 weeks or like, I guess over a month out of the year.
I
So
see.
so he
Okay.
taught it in person as
Oh, I
well.
love
Yeah.
it. That's great. Yeah, I mean, that's a different
Yeah.
vibe, right? Getting to be in the
Mhm.
room, the person and everything. Um, Well, it sounds like you, Angelica, could be interested in the philosophy of physics at least, right?
Yeah,
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 that's and space time. Sure.
yeah,
Nice.
yeah,
Good.
exactly.
Yeah. Um, what are the trajectories here for you guys, if you don't mind me asking? You don't know now, but is the picture I'm just exploring an MA and I want to see what's next, or oh, I know I really want to go into and be a PhD student in philosophy.
I would say I definitely know I want to be a PhD student
Okay.
in philosophy.
Is
Yeah,
everybody
probably same for me.
same for you?
No.
I'm sorry, say that again, Thomas.
Yes.
Same.
Yes. Same.
Has everybody, given you the scary warnings about how hard the job market is and everything?
Yeah.
Okay. I
Yeah.
just don't, I don't want, I want us all to be in the know. Like, it's like, philosophy has been so good to me. I feel so grateful for a life getting to do the things I do, thinking about the things I get to think about, teaching the things I get to teach on. I want that for you guys too, but I also don't want to mislead you, that um, it's tough out there. So, yeah.
Yeah.
Any Southern California connections for either of you?
Um, my cousin actually goes to film school
Oh,
down
nice.
there, and it's slipping. The name of the school is slipping my mind, but she's graduating this year, so she'll be in
Okay.
LA.
Okay.
So I'll be hanging out with her if hypothetically if I were to go there. And also, one of my best friends actually goes to UC Davis. He's a PhD student for physics.
Is that right?
Oh,
So yeah,
do you know his name?
Nathan
Or like,
Gonzalez.
oh, I've never had him as like a TA
Yeah,
or anything, but
yeah,
that's
he
really
teaches
cool.
intro. So yeah,
That's fun.
he's a cool dude. Me and him were freshman physics students together. So now he's going on to do
I see.
physics, and I'm doing philosophy. Yeah,
That's
I
cool.
love it. I love it. That's great.
yeah.
Uh, but it sounds like you're thinking, Thomas, if you were around, you've got a plan, maybe even for, you've got someone that you could team up with in far like for living, in fact.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
do.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Um, because partly why I asked that for both of you guys is it won't be, it doesn't sound like you've been around Boston, Thomas and Angelica, you've been in California. You won't be
Yeah.
too as shocked by how costly it is to live. But we do have some people, right, who they like apply from the Midwest or something, and it's already costly to pay to go to the program like ours. And then when they find out what life is like in Southern California, cost wise, it can be a little bit of a shock to the system. So, having a little bit of having some connection or at least being aware of the situation can be a good thing. So yeah.
yeah. I was seeing on the website there's like a housing for grad students through LMU. Do you know anything about that?
Yes, we've had some of our folks use it. It's not bad. It's just there isn't a lot of it, and it's not like it's super cheap. But
Yeah.
what we usually try to do once we've made our admissions decisions and people have decided that they're coming, then what I try to do is get information out to everybody about the various different ways to find housing, including through the on campus or near campus stuff that's for graduate students. A lot of it is like word of mouth. Everybody's like figured out homes that they can rent rooms in, and then people can team up. And so it turns out like through the month of like June, I turn into like a partial realtor where I'm helping people think about, okay, who does anybody need a roommate? Maybe Angelica, they'll meet this person and like them and they can hang out. And oh, maybe that'll turn out that they could share an apartment, etc. Um, and usually we do eventually find things for everyone. So but feel free to poke around. There is on you can click from our page to some graduate housing stuff that you can see, and it's good and it's close to campus. It's not like, sometimes you think, well, graduate housing, super cheap, right? It's still a little pricey, but
Yeah. It didn't, yeah, it didn't look like amazing.
right. Yeah, exactly.
Um,
Yeah.
but
Yeah. Um, Trying to think if there's anything else. It's a pretty neat place, guys. The grad community and the undergraduate community of philosophy is like pretty vibrant. Oh, you got a feel for it a little bit, Thomas. I mean, we've got this Agora, we call it our meeting area. That it's usually there's a lot of students around. We've got. Did you see the Gradbury, Thomas, when you were there? Our graduate library.
No,
Yeah.
I didn't.
We've got our own little library for grad students, and it's people are doing a lot of hanging out and a lot of sharing of ideas and working together on projects. We're kind of proud of the philosophically serious, but also like mutually supportive and fun community that we've built up. Are either of you good bowlers? No, Angelica, you're not a good
But
bowler.
I would love to bowl. Like I won't turn it down,
Okay, but
but I
are
don't
you
think I'm a good bowler.
you don't think you're good? That's
No.
good. On my view, that's good because we play faculty versus grad students, and
Oh.
it's very I if Thomas says tells me he's good, I might be considering rejecting his application. It makes it harder for the faculty to win. So I've got to you better lie to me now, Thomas. Are you any good at bowling?
Uh, I have good days and bad days.
That was careful. That was careful. Um, but I do say that, by the way, just like we do in the fall, the first event we have with grad students is a faculty grad student bowling event, and it's a really good time. They did beat us last year, though.
Ooh.
So they won we have a golden bowling ball that goes into the Gradbury where so they can lord it over us. We've won it most years, um, still, but it's a good time. Yeah. The grad students are into putting their favorite philosopher names for themselves when you're so it looks kind of funny when you walk in and you see, Plotinus up is bowling and, uh, Merleau-Ponty is bowling and what have you. So, but it's a good community. That was the thing to emphasize. It's a good group. Can I ask, this might be, you don't have to tell me this because you really can think reasonably. Look, I don't know this Dan guy. Um, uh, but if you did want to tell me the other places you're thinking about, I'd be happy to give you input about those places too. I honest point, I just want you guys to flourish. So if you can flourish with us, cool. If you can flourish someplace else, that's also cool. Are you thinking about other places?
I actually didn't apply to many other places. I was thinking maybe UC Davis, but I also
Yeah,
wanted to go somewhere else. It's good to get other connections and
yeah,
other philosophical perspectives. So
yeah. That does make sense, though, UC Davis is a good place. So yeah.
yeah.
How about you, Thomas? Given your interests, I could think of a few good places for you.
Well, actually, I applied and I got accepted to Boston College,
BC, love it.
which yeah, which is much closer to home. So
Okay. And James and Brian all know that place pretty well.
mhm,
So yeah,
yeah. So I've talked to James about,
good,
you know, those two options a lot. So
good. Okay. You probably don't need my input on that, but you've got it. You good options, very good options. So
yeah, yeah.
okay. Uh, anything else I can help with? Anything else that's on your mind?
For when if you become like a so I heard that there's like you're saying you teach as a grad student?
You can, yes, in your second year.
Yeah, yeah. And so how does that like work exactly? Do you like, teach any class? You teach a specific class?
We have a class that we have it's kind of a weird situation, but it works out great for us. The Department of Psychology is very, very impacted. They have a ton of undergraduate majors. So they've instituted a major requirement in psychology. It's a critical thinking for psychology class. But they can't teach it. So our graduate students teach basically a critical thinking course, but for psych students. So it's a general critical thinking. It's philosophical questions about the nature of good reasoning from data, good reasoning in general. And then there's some issues that are specific to psychology, some issues about the kind of philosophy of mind, philosophy of evidence, those kinds of things like that our students teach. And so the teaching philosophy seminar helps students get themselves ready to teach that critical thinking course, basically.
And what kind of like philosophical material does that class like engage with?
It's very much up to each student. So
All right.
we have a book called Critical Thinking for Psychology. It's a pretty standard 15 chapter book that does, issues about inference and reasoning in psychology and topics in cognitive bias, those kinds of things. Each of the chapters is, but that only covers about a half to two-thirds of the course material. The other half or third of the course, we let each student decide, hey, what do you want to do to emphasize something in particular that it's like fits from your point of view philosophically that you think will be interesting to these students. So we've had folks just like do all like that other third is Plato as a critical thinker, or intellectual virtue. That's one we emphasize a lot. Cultivation of intellectual virtue and critical thinking, or creative writing and critical thinking, or folks have done technology and critical thinking. So kind of a focus on issues about the philosophy of technology. So it's pretty flexible for folks to kind of fill that course out in a way that makes it distinctively interesting for them. Though there's this kind of 15 chapters of this textbook that has to be covered. So it's a good kind of there's a kind of a skeleton, a structure that's pretty fixed that everybody does that we can all work on together. We've got exams, banks of exams for people to use for those. Um, but then this extra bit, people get to be creative.
That's cool.
Yeah. And if you do teach one of those courses, that's about an extra $6,000. So that's a nice thing about it is you get paid $6,000 for that, and that helps take some of the price down. So
Do most students do the teaching, or you said it's optional? So
it is optional. I do think it's probably most. Yeah, I think the I'll bet it's 80%, something like that. Um, and it I see it being very valuable for our students who do it. Um, Sometimes other people in the department pitch it like it's really important for people who are going on to PhD because you'll have had teaching experience. I don't subscribe to that view myself. I think it can be valuable for the student, but and I think it's often fun. Students like it's a good test case. Do I like this? Do I want to do this? Is this the kind of thing I want to keep doing or not? Um, but I think for most good PhD programs, they don't care that much whether or not you've taught. They want to know, are you going to be a kick-ass scholar or a kick-ass philosopher? And if you're a good teacher, people like us care about that, but probably the research institutions that you're applying to for PhDs don't care that much about that. So it's like I feel torn about that. If people need the money, great. If people really want to teach because it sounds like fun and they want to test the waters, great. If they can do it without it and just work harder on their writing sample, I think that's also a good thing to do.
yeah, okay, that's interesting. I really like teaching. I have a lot of
Yeah,
education experience, so
yeah,
that would just be a big opportunity for me.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Right. If it's the kind of thing that sounds like fun, that's another, why not? You get to keep doing philosophy, you get to keep teaching, and you get to make a little money while you're doing it. Yeah. Anything else on your guys' minds?
Do you have any just like do you have a list of courses that you've taught like in like seminars to just
Yes.
get an idea of what the offerings are?
Sure. Yeah. I'm gonna while I'm gonna pull up my recent list, okay? And then I'm just gonna read them off to you. Does that sound okay? Or you want me
That
to
sounds
drop it in?
perfect.
Okay.
That sounds perfect.
Let me just not coming up. I could just do it off the top of my head, but it's
That works too, whatever is best.
Well, I feel like maybe it'll be more interested, I'll be more confident in it when um, there we go. Okay. So let's see. This in the spring, so or in the fall when we start, if you guys were coming, the seminars that we would have would be I'm going to do a pro seminar. I think my topic is going to be hope, the contemporary and classical conceptions of the nature of hope and its role in philosophy. It's an interesting hot topic about the nature of hope. So I think that's what I'm going to do. Professor Kazor is going to offer a seminar on McIntyre's After Virtue. So, some connections since both of you have interest in metaethics, there would definitely be an opportunity to focus in on metaethics in that class. Professor Stackel is going to be offering a seminar on Aristotle, and Professor Garcia Romero is going to be offering a seminar on uh, what is she calling that one? She's calling it like being in German idealism. So she's an expert on German idealism, especially post-Kantian German idealism. This guy Schelling, like I didn't know anything about Schelling until we hired Marcella, and then now everything about Schelling seems extremely interesting to me. But big issues like post-Kantian idealism and the nature of being. That's what she's going to be doing this semester that you're just missing right now. Professor Wilson's doing Kant's First Critique. Um, Professor Phillips Garrett is doing a philosophy of emotion seminar. Professor Pearl is doing a Plato seminar. And then I'm doing the teaching philosophy seminar. Just quick rundown of the previous year. So in 2014, we had philosophy of disability, a virtue theory course, uh, Heidegger. Heidegger comes around pretty regularly because we've got a few folks who work on Heidegger. And then Pascal, classics of Chinese philosophy. What did I do the pro seminar on then? I think I did it on free will. I think I did the pro seminar on free will that semester. So, and I'm just looking back. I know contemporary French philosophy is going to be coming up. Plotinus will be coming up. Um, General moral psychology, continental political thought. Those are the things that I'm seeing. Husserl's kind of a big deal among our folks we've got a bunch of phenomenology folks.
Cool, thank you.
Sure, sure.
I have another question.
Sure.
I don't know if this like makes sense as a question. But so I mean, my college I come from is Christian, so it
Yeah,
makes sense at least here. Like a lot of our courses are integrated with theology. I
yeah.
was wondering like how much integration with theology is there at LMU? So I know you
There's
guys are like
it,
Jesuit school.
yeah, it's definitely something that the department takes seriously. So lots of the folks will be open to that kind of integration. Sometimes it's explicitly built in depending on the figure, right? Like uh I'm just thinking as I glance at the things like the Pascal seminar. It's hard to talk about Pascal and not talk about certain kinds of theological integration. A lot of stuff that comes up is on Aquinas will be like that, Augustine. Um, and everyone, I would say, in the department is open to that kind of integration. Some of it is the kind of thing you have to build in on your own, but they're happy to support it. So it's a kind of community in which that's very positively received. Certainly, my own stuff on hope will be connected to that in various ways. It doesn't have to be like there'll be ways of pursuing the question of hope that aren't sort of religiously tinged, but I'm actually very comfortable with that and kind of think of my work as going in those directions myself.
Yeah, that actually is what made it come to mind. Like a course on hope, I was like,
Yeah,
to like a lot of the theologians slash
yeah,
philosophers.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
That's right. Yeah, that's right.
So that makes sense. Cool.
Okay. Anything else I can help with? Well, just so that you guys know, I'll be making this our higher our admissions committee will be making decisions very soon, and letting you guys know about your applications. But I hope main big point of our time here for me is just that you guys know I'm totally available. Okay, so don't hesitate to ask any questions. Feel free to email. If you want to, talk on the phone more privately about anything, that's also fine too. So just think of my door as open. Okay.
Thank you.
We all right then?
Yeah,
Yep.
Okay.
no questions.
Oh, I think
Awesome.
I'm supposed to tell you, did you see this thing in the chat? They're saying there's like some student resource sessions for financial aid and international. You could probably not all of that's relevant to you, but if you are, worth knowing that there's other resources there. Okay.
Awesome.
All
Thank you
right.
so much. Appreciate
Hey,
your time.
absolutely. Good to hang out with you guys.
Yeah, thank you. Have a
You
good day,
betcha.
guys.
You too.
Nice meeting you guys.
Bye-bye.
Yeah, good to meet you.